Today we're talking about self-love. Why is that important? It's because self-love is the cornerstone of why you feel unhappy in your existence. Now, the reason why I want to focus on it so bad is because a lot of people don't understand that if you don't love yourself, there's no way you're going to be able to give love to someone else, because you can only give what you have. If you don't have something to give, you can't give it. If you don't have $1 million to give someone, there's no way you're going to be able to give them $1 million. So you have to be able to have love for yourself and then be able to give it to someone else. What is self-love? I think social media and the mainstream media has defined love as this romantic rose, happy ending fairy tale, getting everything that you want exactly how you want it, getting everybody to applaud for you, and getting the very thing that's super appealing to everybody else, but not necessarily what is best for you. I believe that the absolute truth about love would be a love that applies to all human beings and not just a specific group of people. And that's why I take my knowledge from different parts, and just looking at the way love is described, it's patient, it's kind, it's forgiving, it does not boast, it is not envious, it is not jealous. These attributes are attributes that when you think about, you don't necessarily think about these things as being a part of ourselves. You think about these things as being something outside of ourselves. We think about these things when it comes to seeing our parents being in love, when it comes to seeing our friends being in love, when it comes to loving someone else, but never really do we apply those attributes towards ourselves. And here's a proof of it. We live in a generation, in a time when nobody wants to be alone. Everybody wants to be doing something or be distracted by something. Why? Because we're suffering deep down. And we have these things that we don't like about ourselves, the things that we despise about ourselves. Deep down, our real inner self, our inner child is being beaten, has been bruised, has been teared to pieces. And we try not to face that by going outside of ourselves and focusing on the things that are outside of ourselves, focusing on an idea of love that is focused on, doing everything outside of ourselves and getting everything from someone else, and not necessarily having those things ourselves and then providing that to someone else. Will Smith once said that his relationship with his wife was based on the idea that it was their job to make themselves happy and then bring that happiness into the relationship. And the reason why so many people are so unhappy in relationships is because they are in codependent relationships. And these relationships are based on the fact that they expect the other person to fulfill a void of love, a desire for a complete form of love of them. And over time, when you expect someone to fill a void so big that only you can fill, they get drained. And that's why you see relationships starting off, chemistry is amazing and hitting off, and then over time that starts to fall apart, and the person that you're with starts to want to break away from you because they feel suffocated, because they feel like you're sucking the energy and the life out of them, because you're trying to fill the void that can only be filled by yourself. And beginning with self-love and going back within yourself, and as you do this journey of getting to know yourself better, as you begin this journey of finding out what your soul is, you start to develop a certain sympathy for yourself. You look at the mistake that you've made in the past, you look at the things that you've gone through in the past, and you begin to have a certain sympathy for yourself. You begin to forgive yourself for the things that you did in the past, and you start to make peace with that. You start to move forward and kind of look at yourself from a different light and see that, you know what, you kind of fucked up. Like, you've done some fucked up shit, but it's okay. And it does not take away from the value that is you. You are still an important part of this existence. You're still an important part of this experience that we're having on this earth. And you still exist in this time for a purpose, and that purpose is not taken away from you because you've done things that were not considered good by society, or things that may have made you feel less of yourself. And that's the beginning of that love, and really spending time with yourself and changing that inner dialogue as well, because that's big. A lot of us have this inner dialogue that says, no, you can't, you're suffering, and you're not worthy, you don't deserve, you don't have the right to be happy, you don't have the right to have an happy relationship, you have to continuously sacrifice for others, you continuously have to put your foot out to be cut for someone else's gain. And all these things are just programmings that we picked up as kids, and maybe through experiences, or maybe not as kids, as adults. When you went through a traumatic event, you picked up on these things and it became your internal dialogue. And self-love will be you going within yourself and recognizing these things and understanding that it's not true. That it might have been true for the person that put you through this experience. Like, let's say your parents went through, they were in jail, or they suffered with a sort of a mental or emotional oppression or dependency. And that was their reality, and it was true for them at that time. But just because they passed that pain down to you doesn't mean that that is your truth as well. When you start to see that, you start to have some sort of love and compassion for yourself and start to forgive yourself. And that's big. That the ability to forgive yourself, and the moment you can truly forgive yourself and give yourself that peace, that I know what you did and I know you did it to protect your vulnerabilities, and I forgive you for doing that. Having that peace with being able to look at yourself in the mirror, knowing that you've done your wrongdoings and your mistakes, and you fell short in certain places, and you might have made a decision that didn't turn out the best for you or for the people around you. Being able to look at yourself in the mirror and being like, I forgive you, I still love you, and making that a dialogue in your mind, making it okay that when you feel sad, you don't feel less of a person. Society makes it feel that if you're not perfect, and by perfect meaning social media perfect, meaning TV perfect, meaning having no flaw that is evident to the naked eye and fitting in with what is considered as ideal in society, then you should not value yourself at a high esteem. You are considered as less. But that's not true, because each person, every person is unique. You are unique in your own way. So there's no way for someone outside of you to come and define you. You have to start defining yourself from within and being able to go back in yourself and seeing these things that you've done, maybe because you wanted approval, maybe because you wanted validation, maybe because you wanted to belong. Going back within yourself and telling yourself it's okay. Like, I approve of you. Like, you approve of yourself. Like, telling yourself that I approve of you and I love you, and it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. I care about you and I want the best for you, and I don't expect anything in return, and I'm sorry for ignoring you. I'm sorry for not taking care of you. I'm sorry for not listening more to you, and I just love you. Making that your inner dialogue will start. It's going to be hard at first because you've been wired this way for many years. But the more you do it, the more you're conscious of it, the more you discover about yourself, the more you go into depth with yourself and start to face your demons, the more you start to shed light on those dark areas of your soul, the more you start to make peace with the demises and the struggles and the pain that you've gone through, the more this dialogue will become consistent, the more aware you'll be, and the more you'll be able to share this with yourself and start speaking to yourself in a more loving way. And before you know it, it's going to start feeling real. Your body's going to start adjusting chemicals to match the way you think. And you're going to start feeling good in your own body. You're going to start to feel some sort of affection for yourself. And I believe the moment you can have that for yourself, you can give that to someone else. The moment you can truly love yourself, you can truly love your son. You can truly love your daughter. You can truly love your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your father, your mother, anyone. The moment you can have true love for yourself, you can have love for a stranger, because you will be able to see yourself in others. And that love is not a love that's portrayed in the movie. It's not a love that's perfect. It's almost like people will call you ignorant, or people will call you naive, because you instantly have love for others. And there are people in this world that will take advantage of that. But that's why we're creating this community, and that's why we're coming together and sharing these ideas, so that we can bring this awareness to the entire world. And everyone can now be aware of this and learn to love themselves, that they love themselves so much that taking advantage of someone else would remind them of how they've been taken advantage of. And because they wouldn't want that for themselves, they wouldn't want that for someone else. So self-love is what we just talked about here. And of course, I'm going to take it into more depth, and as I connect it to religion and society and culture and family life and all these other things that come into play, we'll get to go into that, and that's where I want to go with this. I hope this is helpful to you. I hope it's helpful to anyone that you choose to share this with. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and to like and to share this with as many people as you can. Let's build a community. Let's get together. Let's get on a soul quest. And again, this is me, John Penn.